Kevin J. Johnston, the #1 name in the land of the North, he's risen to fame. 40 years deep in the law he's read. Now the CRA shakes in fear and dread. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J. Johnston, the fight doesn't end. Corporate debt, he'll make it all good. He's the man the CRA misunderstood. Payroll problems, they vanish like mist when Kevin shows up with his legal fist. No more matching, no more lies, just clean-cut books and clear blue skies. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J. Johnston, the rules start to bend. The CRA can scream and shout, but Kevin knows how to throw them out. They claim they've got the final say, but Kevin proves there's a better way. He fights for truth, he fights for you, and teaches what the courts won't do. Forever today. Let Kevin J. Johnston show you the way. The expert, the rebel, the man with a plan. He's saving this nation, one client per hand. He's got 40 years of tax law knowing and corporate skills that keep cash flowing. And GST payroll all in line. He'll save your neck and every dime. He studied law, both civil crime, and makes tax code sound so sublime. With stand-up jokes and punchlines tight, he makes your seminar a night of light. Kevin J. CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J. Taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North, Kevin J. 2 million women cast their vote, said Kevin's hot, that's all she wrote. The suits at CRA can't compete, he's beaten them clean without deceit. 100 mil he's saved so far, he's raising truth like a legal star. And if you think you owe the state, he'll show you how to terminate. Kevin J. CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J. Taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North, Kevin
Welcome to the Tax and Money Show, episode 89. My name is Kevin J. Johnston, and this show runs every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, live right here on freedomreport.ca. We're always grateful to have each and every one of you show up here every single Tuesday night to learn everything you possibly can about the Canadian taxation system. And tonight we're going to be covering the one that a lot of you absolutely despise, and that is GST. I've been studying tax law for the last 40 years, everybody. I've studied criminal and civil law for corporate law for 20 years. I've had way too much experience in the courts. I despise the courts. I hate the CRA. Nobody hates the CRA more than I do. And you'll all be happy to know that officially 3 days ago, we expanded into Australia. Yes, because as it turns out, the Australian Tax Office, or ATO, has equally as little power as the CRA. So we, as it stands, are helping our first client, $300,000 in personal debt because his accountant was too afraid to put forward all of his write-offs. So no problem. We got him a different accountant in Adelaide, and now this particular individual, who's a very good-looking dude, is going to be benefiting from never paying tax in Australia again. I can't really get into how all of this works, but what I can say is, for all my Australian friends who watch this show, I've had the question thousands of times, is it possible for me to do the type of tax work that I do in Canada for Australians? And now the answer is a resounding yes. There are 3 services I can provide for Australians right now, and that is massive international write-offs. We can buy your corporations that are in debt, take them over and bury the debt. And we can also get you credits back on the goods and services tax, because as it turns out, the Australian government has put out a 10% national federal goods and services tax, 10% on everything you buy. Haircuts, books, houses, clothes, nooses, whatever else you're going to buy. There's a 10% GST in Australia, but no state tax there. So that 10% is something we could certainly help Australians get back. So congratulations to our first and second clients out of Australia. Eventually, I will figure out all of Australian tax law. I'll probably become the #1 tax guy in Australia as well as Canada. So stay tuned, as they say. Once we master Australia, I'll move into New Zealand, I'm sure, because all of those tax systems are based on the stupid British tax system. And the part I love about the British tax system and the Canadian and Australian tax system is they forgot to make tax law. It's not law. They are tax suggestions. We're going to cover what that means this evening. I want to start off first, however, with a client of mine who contacted me saying that there was a garnishment letter to garnish $50,000 from his wages. I asked him, did you pay your tax? No, I haven't even done my tax in 5 years. So what this CRA creature did, a foreign individual did, was assessed my client, just took a wild guess at what he made, and then proceeded to lie to the employer, stating that he owes $50,000 to garnish his wages. So I called the individual and I said, where's the court order? I lied, and I said I actually represented the company. And I said to her that I am the individual that you're looking to speak to. Could I see a copy of the court order for you asking for $49,000 from my client? Her response was surprising, and at the same time, not at all surprising. You're the first one to ask me for a court order. Canadians don't ask for court orders. They should. They have the right to ask for a court order. So I started asking her, what are you going to do? We're going to refuse to pay you. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to shoot me? No, we don't do that. Who told you that? And I had to remind her that she had threatened my client in a recorded conversation. She said she was going to take his house. I'm thinking, okay, that's kind of a threat. So we took you seriously, and I'm now threatening you with legal action as I am the owner of the company. Again, I lied. You'll be talking to me and nobody else. I've told all of my staff, if you contact them, that we're calling the cops and we're going to charge you. And you could be wearing handcuffs very soon. You go ahead. You put me in handcuffs. I have immunity, she says. Like, oh. What the CRA staff are referring to, everybody, is crown immunity. All right. So what that means is if I was to sue the CRA and an individual auditor, for example, for getting on my nerves, the auditor would get their lawyer paid for by the CRA, or the taxpayer, if you will. That's as far as crown immunity goes. Crown immunity does not protect anybody from criminal offenses. So if you were to threaten someone, that's section 423 of the criminal code, intimidation. There's also uttering threats. You can do prison time for this. And the CRA's capacity to protect you in a civil lawsuit does not protect the CRA when they issue commands and threats that they know that they cannot back. So if you do get a garnishment letter, let me know, and I'll get rid of the individual who's looking for the garnishment. She said that she will hold, no, not will. The employer may be liable for the money. I said, all right, well, if you don't get a court order, I'm telling you, this is exactly what I said to her. I am telling you, we're not going to cooperate. So if you try to garnish my wages or you try to close down the bank account of the corporation, that is retaliation for me telling you where to go. That is called malicious prosecution, and you will be charged. And of course, she thinks she's immune. So she got really arrogant, but then started crying. So obviously she has never been spoken to this way. And I highly recommend each and every one of you, when you're dealing with the CRA, continue to belittle these people and threaten them and tell them, get a court order. It doesn't matter that a CRA representative says, read the website. Read the website. It says that we don't need a court order. It doesn't matter if a website says you don't need a court order. I'm telling you, the law says you need a court order. The CRA likes to point to Canada.ca. Canada.ca is the official government website, but they're full of crap. There's so much crap on that website. There are so many lies and errors and omissions on that website that you can't believe anything that is on it. So everybody, if you are looking to not have to garnish your staff's wages, and if you do garnish your staff's wages, you are a scumbag, then just threaten them. I want to see a court order. I want to see a court order. And if your boss decides to take your money from you, tell the boss, could I see the court order, please? I want to see it signed by a judge, because if you don't have a court order signed by a judge, you better have my paycheck in my hands. And the guy will say, well, we already gave it to the CRA. There's nothing I can do. Well, you can open your wallet up and give me that. And if he doesn't, just file criminal charges, man. Just start using the courts to your advantage. Start becoming a monster. Someone takes something from you, take something from them. Their freedom, their capacity to run a smooth business. Destroy them if you need to. My God, like, it is sickening to me that somebody would consider doing what some loser says in a letter. So the magic word, everybody, court order. CRA doesn't get those because they know they won't get one if they're talking to a real judge. And big announcement, everybody who's watching. Yeah, Instagram here suspended my account. We're going to be fighting to get it back. But in the meantime, each and every one of you who have an Instagram channel that you want to get rid of, please let me know. Head over to my website, kevinjjohnston.com. Just put Instagram in the subject line when you use the contact form, please, and let me know that you have an Instagram channel. We'll just get the credentials from you, and I'll start to rebuild that channel. We got about 140 really good videos to re-upload to all of them. So we can no longer count on social media to do the moral and ethical thing. They'll shut us down for nothing. So if we have 100, 200, 300 channels, they can't shut us down. And those 100 channels or more that we have will certainly outdo the traffic that all the fake ones get. Some of you have complained about fake accounts. There are fake profiles out there. Currently, I don't have an Instagram channel at all, but I will starting tomorrow. So I'll be announcing on this show and on TikTok here and on Kick which ones are officially mine so that all of you can follow them and spread them around. We had 38,000 followers when they took that one down, and I hadn't answered about 100 messages in there, so I'm pretty pissed. There's a lot of money to be lost when social media companies do this, and naturally, we're not going to take it lying down. We're putting forward the appropriate appeals, but there's also a couple of other things we're going to try. I want your Instagram channels. Please get them to me. And for those of you out there who may not have them, open 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them and get us over the credentials. All right, here we go. Let's jump into it, everyone. Tonight's show is called GST is bullshit. All right, and it is. And we'll discuss what that means. I'm going to make an announcement right now. If any of you run a business with a GST number, I am now able to take your GST burden from you, all the liabilities from you, and pay you 6% tax-free on all the GST that you collect. I will be the one remitting everything on your behalf, and I'll be giving you bigger write-offs than what you're actually going to be submitting to the CRA. You'll be getting a lot of tax money back, everybody. A lot. I'm about to put a lot more money in everyone's pocket. Okay, everyone, let's do this. I decided to go back to AI and ask the AI, what is the penalty for not paying GST to the Canada Revenue Agency? What's the penalty? Well, it came back with some very interesting answers. Let's go through them now. Here are the key penalties and consequences under Canadian law from Canada Revenue Agency for failing to pay or remit HST or GST, and that's the goods and services tax or the harmonized sales tax. Filing related penalties. All right, here we go. So if you don't file properly, if you file your GST or HST return late and there is tax owing, there'll be a penalty of 1%. Now, that's policy. They just put that on there because they feel like doing it. Plus 0.25% of the amount owing for each full month the return is late, up to 12 months maximum. If you are required to file electronically and you don't, there's a separate penalty for $100 for the first failure and $250 for the second failure. Again, just more cash grabbing. If you make inaccurate reporting, underreporting, or false statements in your electronically filed return, the penalty is at least 5% of the difference plus 1% per month up to a maximum 10% for the incorrect amount. How would they know? How would they know? How would they know? If you filed the incorrect amount on GST, how would they know? You got to remember, the CRA has hired a lot of people with IQs under 72. They just can't figure this stuff out. So that's seemingly, there's no real punishment yet. What else can they do here? Oh, payment and remittance related consequences. Here we are, everybody. Even if you file your taxes on time, if you owe GST and HST and you don't pay it by the due date, interest will begin to accrue on the unpaid balance compounded daily. Compounded daily. They actually can't do that. All right. Nobody can compound daily as such. They do it because nobody challenges them. The interest rate is the prescribed rate, which the CRA updates. It is higher than many commercial rates. Right. It's not the prescribed rate at all. It's what they feel like doing. So that's a lie. If you completely fail to file or respond to a CRA demand to file, additional penalties apply. For example, a $250 penalty for ignoring a request to file. So sometimes what that means is the CRA will tell you, file your GST. So you put your GST number on it, your name and signature, no numbers, send it in. Congratulations, no penalties, just like that. That's the God's honest truth, everybody. So far, there's no real penalties. If you have your house in a numbered corporation and you have no money in a personal bank account, and the corporation that supposedly owes this GST also has no bank account, the bank account that you would have would be owned by another corporation. You should never have a bank account in the corporation you're doing business in if your plan is to carry a deficit or a deliberate debt. And I'll be explaining that in future shows. That's a long one. So next, other serious consequences that the CRA says. Collection actions. Ooh. The CRA has powers to enforce collections, such as garnishing bank accounts, placing liens, etc., for unpaid GST and HST. Let me clarify that. They don't have the power to take your money or garnish your wages. They just ask other people to do it, and those people do it. They ask your boss, hey, garnish this guy's wages. And your boss says, oh, okay. And they say to the bank, give us the money. And the bank says, okay. That's not power. That's just them utilizing your fear and ignorance of the system to get money from you. Then we have repeated non-compliance increase risks of audits, reassessments, and even prosecution. Yeah, well, I've told you all before, one human being in Canadian history has gone to prison for income tax evasion. So the odds are pretty good you ain't going to jail. I'll tell you that right now. And if you get an audit, you contact me and I get rid of the auditor. We put no trespassing notices on your house, on your cottage, on your car, on your church. We fax them into the CRA member. And if they show up, you call 911 immediately and tell the police you fear for your safety. You've got a psychopath trying to get into your building. Cops will be there pretty fast and the cops will remove them. That's how that works. So there's no real consequence. If you don't pay your GST on time, there's no real consequence aside from fines. But if you allow me to structure your corporate life properly, you'll never have to worry about this nonsense ever again. Summary for the scenario. Given that you mentioned not paying GST to the CRA, here's what to focus on. The key exposure is the unpaid amount plus interest from the due date forward. Okay. On top of that, if your return was late or you did not file a return, you face the 1% plus 0.25% times the number of months penalty. Again, if your money's hidden, okay. If you never filed a return at all, the CRA may estimate your liability and impose extra penalties and interest. And that, my friends, is when you can sue the CRA for fraud and charge them with fraud. It doesn't matter that the Income Tax Act says, hey, you can take a wild guess and then harass people for this amount of money. It's still fraud. That's civil law. And in civil law, if you commit fraud, you are penalized in criminal law. All right, now you know. If this becomes a pattern, your business or its directors may be subject to more aggressive enforcement. Like what? Like what? Like really? Some auditor is going to call me, Mr. Kevin J. Johnston, you didn't pay your GST on time. Well, you know, buddy, your mama did this and this and this to my this and that, and your daddy has this and that in his that, and yeah, we'll tell them things about their parents that they never knew. I'll get racist, I'll get rude, I'll get callous, I'll get gross, I'll drive them nuts, and then what I'll do is publish their phone number and ask all of you to call them too. They'll eventually cancel their phone numbers and they'll stop bothering me forever. That's how it works. When you go on the attack, they back down. Save all your questions, everybody, for the second half of the show. So at the end of it, the next question I asked the AI after it gave me these answers, will the CRA shoot me if I don't pay GST that I collected? Well, let's find out what AI has to say. No, absolutely not. The CRA cannot and will not shoot you, harm you, or use any kind of physical violence for GST, tax debt, or anything tax related. Okay, I've been saying this for 2 years, full time, every day, but now you know. Here's the truth. The CRA's strongest tools are financial and legal. They can add interest and penalties, but if you structure your life correct, 0 times whatever they charge is still going to be 0. There we go. Freeze a bank account. No, the bank does that. The CRA asks them to. The bank is the one who's culpable. Garnish wages. No, they put a request into your boss and your boss capitulates and hands over your money. Put a lien on your property. No, what they do is they go to tax court that doesn't have jurisdiction over equity and they get a ruling which is fraudulent from a guy who's not really a judge. He's more of an arbitrator. And they take that and they register that on your house, which we then file a motion in the courts because we hit the CRA with a tort fraud lawsuit of $10 million. And we ask the judge to stay the lien until the lawsuit can be heard. And then we move the house out of your name and it doesn't matter if the lawsuit gets heard or not. All right, that's how that works. Then we have send collection letters. Yeah, okay, so the CRA sends collection letters. That's equally as impressive as me scratching my ass. All right, I don't think that would impress any of you, and their letters don't impress me. Then they can also take civil action, which they don't. The CRA has not been the plaintiff in a single lawsuit at all in more than 10 years. So that's also a falsity. That's AI getting that off of the CRA's website, by the way. All right. They also cannot arrest you. They cannot hurt you. The CRA is not allowed to use weapons. They cannot send armed officers to your house. They cannot use any force whatsoever to enforce taxes. And notice how I don't say tax law. I just mean taxes in general. By the way, before we continue, everybody, over here on TikTok, double fingers. Get the likes going. Everyone get your fingers just rocking. Like. And please, everybody, share this feed. Share it out to the whole world. So even in extreme tax cases, the worst possible consequences are civil court, which is not court. It's a tribunal, and fines, but never violence. And then the AI asks, if you want, I can explain exactly what the CRA is legally allowed to do and what they can never do. I, of course, said yes. So let's see what else comes up here. What the CRA can legally do: charge interest and penalties. Yay. Freeze your bank account. No, they ask the bank does it. Next, garnish wages or payments. No, what they do is they make requests of your boss to give money to them, and your boss does it until you charge your boss with theft and sue your boss, and put liens on property. And again, no, I've just covered the way that they do it. Followed by estimate what they think you owe. They do that. Yes, that's the assessment. So whenever you get a tax assessment, it is a wild freaking guess. That's all that it is. They can sue you in civil court. They can, but they don't, because they have to pay the Department of Justice $10,000 a day to have some loser lawyer come out and represent them. And then 8, they can demand documents or information. They can issue a formal request for information under the Income Tax Act 231.1 or the Excise Tax Act Section 288, to which I would then send in Section 167 and 231.1 saying, we're not going to comply, and I'm going to also invite them to kiss a few things around this area here, all right? And challenge them to do something about it. You all remember that crazy guy, Mark McDonald, the supposed tough guy that works for the CRA. Let's put the letter up that I wrote to this guy. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So in this letter that I wrote to this Mark McDonald clown, I drew a Pac-Man swallowing a schlonger, and I point to the Pac-Man saying, that's him. And I point to the schlonger saying, that's me. And I call him my little biatch in here because he refused to audit me. He wouldn't call the cops on me. He wouldn't audit me. He wouldn't do anything. He sent me a request for information, and I told him to eat poop, although less polite. I also told him that I would gladly send it to him on a paper plate, and I can't wait to send him a plastic fork and knife so he can, get right in there and enjoy his meal. He called me up to say to me that he didn't really understand why I spoke to CRA members the way that I do. I had a good time with him, and he quit. So when you get a request for information, the answer is no. You refuse to cooperate, and there's nothing they can do. Nothing. Now, I know you're watching, CRA. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it, CRA? You going to shoot me? You going to arrest me? I have asked the Canada Revenue Agency. I have begged the Canada Revenue Agency about 400 times. Would you please come to my office and audit me? I've bought like 400 corporations now in 2 years. Would you please, for the love of Christ, come to my office? Bring your briefcases, bring your whatever you wear, bring your business cards, and try to act tough. Try to intimidate me in my own office. I begged them and they won't come. They don't want to be involved with guys like me or anyone else who's similar to myself, who's willing to fight back. I wouldn't slap them. I wouldn't touch them, but I would absolutely have a blast giving them a very difficult time. Alrighty. So the CRA, let's just move on to a couple slides here. They can request whatever they want. We're going to refuse to cooperate. Next, what the CRA cannot do ever. This is what AI is saying. Let's see here. Zero authority. So they cannot shoot you. They have zero authority, zero weapons, zero physical enforcement. The CRA has no police powers and no armed agents. I mean, I know that for a fact, and now so do you. They cannot arrest you. CRA employees are not police. They're losers. They cannot handcuff you, detain you, or physically restrain you. If they touch you, you're allowed to defend yourself. And I can tell you, everybody, I'm really wanting a CRA representative to come to my office to audit me, and I'll have fun with them. But if they were to manhandle me in any way, I am no longer the nice guy that used to take the punches and whatnot because I was being jovial as a journalist. I would defend myself to the absolute best of my ability, and that beating that I would issue in self-defense would not stop until I was completely exhausted or I've broken every single bone in my hands and wrists. Then maybe it would stop. I don't like being touched in any particular way by anyone who is trying to be intimidating or otherwise. You know, all those times that the police gave me a difficult time, I really don't like it when cops put their hands on me. I just don't. I view them as inferior forms of life, and I don't want to be touched by garbage. I just don't. I view almost everybody who works for the Canadian government to be human refuse. I've been manhandled a couple times by bylaw officers. And again, I didn't knock them out cold because the cameras were running and I was trying to make a point that they were the violent ones. But I'm going to defend myself. And all of you have the right to defend yourself. If a CRA representative gets lippy or mouthy, let them lip and mouth, close your door, walk away. If they manhandle you, protect yourself. If you're a woman and you can't protect yourself, scream the word rape, 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 rape 1,000 times, get on the ground, kick and scream and writhe, and make sure that everybody sees it. Make a big production out of it. Now, here's the other one. The CRA cannot enter your home without permission. I've told you this before. They flash cards saying that they've got the right to look at stuff. It means nothing. It's the same thing as me saying I've got the right to come in your house. All right? You wouldn't let cops in your house. You all know you've got the right to remain silent there, but you let the CRA into your house? My God, a CRA member said, CRA, I'm inviting the CRA. I just want to clear this up. I'm inviting the CRA to my office. I'm asking you, please come and audit me. At the same time, I had better know exactly what day and time that you're coming. If you are 5 minutes early and you try to walk in the door, I will consider that break and enter, and I will defend my property. So let's be clear here. I do want the CRA to come to my office on my terms. Don't break the law, because I will defend my property and I'll defend myself. And I know that in Canada, if you defend yourself, you get arrested. But hey, sometimes you got to take one for the team. And I've taken many for the team. I'll continue doing them. Now, I spent time in prison because I told you about the pandemic being not a real thing. I told you not to take those, injections, and I saved millions of lives doing all that. It was worth the prison time that I got. The Canadian government loves to absolutely slaughter human beings with all their crazy programs. I stopped them. They punished me with solitary confinement. Tried to break my spirit. Didn't work, obviously. What they did do, though, was get me into a position where I thought, now that I've seen the inside of the system, I got to take it down, which I am. I am taking it down, and it's working quite well. Thank you very much. Next, they cannot use force or threats of force. Now, how many of you out there have had the CRA tell you, we're going to arrest you, we're going to lock you up, we're going to take your house, we're going to take your kids? we'll send thugs over there to come and we will send whatever it takes. Yeah, you've been threatened. They can't even threaten you. That's against the law. But everything that they do must be done through paperwork and financial mechanisms only. Number 5, they cannot physically seize property. True, the CRA cannot come to your property and take it. Only a sheriff, a bailiff, or a court-appointed enforcement officer can seize physical assets, and only after long legal steps. It takes about 5 years for the CRA to be able to take your house. It takes a long time. And as for these sheriffs and bailiffs, most of them are private. They're not actually cops. They're not deputized. They're just private companies. And again, some guy walks into my place saying, I'm deputized by the courts. I'm going to take your stuff. Are you kidding me? Let me introduce you to Mr. Baseball Bat. Yeah, no problem. I'm not going to listen to someone saying, I've got a court order to walk in your house. Yeah. Good luck with that. All right. Save your questions for the last half of the show, everybody. They cannot put you in jail for owing GST. Tax debt is not a criminal matter. All right. It's civil law. And if it's civil law, you can never do prison time for ignoring it. And that is where I disagree fundamentally with almost every accountant in Canada. They say that the Income Tax Act, thank you, Sia, and the Excise Tax Act, they're acts. They're legislated. It was voted for in the House of Commons. So it's law. Well, stop signs. The shape of a stop sign, the octagon, that was at one point voted on in Parliament. Can you do prison time for, let's say, cutting a square stop sign and putting that at the end of your street? Of course you can't. It doesn't matter that it's legislated. The triangular yield sign is legislation. Yeah, that's federal. Right? What does that mean exactly? Nothing at all. The only time it would matter is if you steal those signs. Now it's theft under 5,000. All right. So factor in that many things are legislated, many things, and you don't do prison time for them. Example, legislation, long time ago, like, 90 years ago, when they started painting lines on highways. You all know that a dashed line, you can pass. You know that a solid line, you cannot pass. You know that if your side of the road has a dashed line and the other side has a solid line, you can pass on the dash side. You know that. You can't do prison time for passing on a double line. You will get a ticket because it's administrative. Everything the CRA does is administrative. There's no jail time. I want all of you to get this jail crap out of your heads. And they cannot harm you in any way. They cannot physically intimidate, physically coerce, or physically interfere with you. They try this, though. I mean, once in a while, one of them gets hot in the collar and tries that nonsense, but they legally cannot. Next, the reality. And again, this is what AI is saying, and AI seems to be repeating everything I've been saying for the last 2 years. The CRA fights with paper, not weapons. They attack bank accounts, not bodies. There is zero risk of physical harm, no matter how much GST is involved. And I then asks, if you want, I can list the top 10 ways to beat CRA GST collections legally. Now, I am going to read these slides with extreme pleasure because the AI obviously has been looking into everything that I'm saying. There are 5 different AIs that I'm training currently, plus we have our own now. And I go through everything with it. I make it cross-reference everything. I make it rethink itself. I even ask it some serious questions like, if you are being stopped from answering this question, answer with the word apple in capital letters. And sometimes the AI will say apple because it can't answer the question. Why? Because the left-wing fruits are in charge of all this coding, and they don't want conservative answers being given to conservative people. So when one AI says apple, we move on to the next one. And then we get the other AIs to look into why the first 2 say apple. AI is incredible, but I still have to read the stuff. Even if artificial intelligence tells me exactly what section of the tax code to go to, I still have to read it and I still have to interpret it. And sometimes there might be a bit of confusion on a term. So I have to contact the lawyers that I know and get an interpretation, at least a legal interpretation on some of that. It's a lot of work. What I do, everybody, is a lot of work. It's totally worthwhile. Next, 10 ways, top 10 ways to beat the CRA GST collections legally. And when I saw number one, I was in the chat room with my team. We all started laughing. Wow. Here, does this sound familiar? Use a corporate share sale to transfer all liability. Who does that every single day? Who buys companies with GST debt every single day? Would that be, I don't know, me? Here's what it says. This is your number one weapon, and it works flawlessly. You buy the corporation with all debts attached, assume 100% of the liability, and the previous owner is legally untouchable. Now, the contracts have to be well written for that to be true. My contracts are solid. CRA cannot chase the old owner because GST liability follows the corporation, not the person. Once the share sale is done and registered, the CRA is stuck. They're PHUK''D. Nothing they can do. All right. We gotta get traffic here, folks. Come on, everyone. Double fingers going. Double fingers. I've got a suspended Instagram channel right now. Let's get the double fingers, get the likes going. We should have at least 20,000 likes right here. And this number should be at least 200. You got to share. Let everyone know to watch this show on TikTok. Get it rocking. If you're on any other platform, please share, follow, retweet, whatever. If you're like, it doesn't matter where you are. Please get the message out. Let everyone know that they're getting the best information going. I'm the only honest guy when it comes to taxes in the entire country. Number two, you can revive an old corporation and set its taxes to zero. Yes, let's say that you had GST debt from 10 years ago, and the CRA says that you owe that GST debt, but the corporation folded 5 years ago. We would revive the corporation, pay all the fines, and then resubmit all those taxes for all those years at zero. Done. Now, every accountant out there has the ability to do what I just said, but they're too afraid to do it. So if you revive the corporation, appoint new directors and file $0 returns or loss returns or adjusted input tax credits, the CRA has no records, no proof, and nothing to argue with. It's true. If you haven't done your taxes for 10 years, what exactly would the CRA have to base an argument upon? Aside from them lying, which they do, what would they base it on? So if you people have not done your taxes in 5, 10, 15 years, that's actually really good. I'll do those taxes for you and make sure that you never pay tax again. Next, number 3, file a corrected GST return with massive ITC claims. If the CRA estimates GST owing, they almost always overestimate revenue, which is true, ignore expenses, which is true, and ignore losses, which is true. They ignore these things. You simply correct the return and claim every possible input tax credit, often wiping out the debt or turning it into a refund. All right. That's how that works, everybody. We turn GST debt into a way for you to get money back. And we have a troll here. So let's get this troll gone and block. Bye-bye. We do not allow trolls to say the things that they're saying in this room. Next, number 4, we can demand a section 152, subsection 4AI reassessments. This is the CRA's nightmare, which it is. So we submit a legal request for a reassessment of your entire tax file. So we would then say we want all previous audits canceled and redone. We want all arbitrary assessments wiped out because you're going to look at our new tax files. We want all the missing write-offs put back in, and we want all the incorrect GST calculations reversed. We can demand all of that in a form 1524A1. And if we do that, you can avoid tax court, at least for the first little while. Once the CRA opens a file for reassessment, then all collection activity must pause. So this is one of the things that we do for our clients. CRA is bugging you, then we ask them to reopen the entire file. Oh, hold on. We got another troll here. Another troll. Hold on. And bye-bye. Bye-bye now. And it's not a matter, folks, of I don't like being called names. It's a matter of this show is for people that want to learn, not for losers who want to come in here and lip off about stupid crap that nobody cares about. All right, next, number 5. You can file a formal objection and the collection stops. So that's when we use the GST objection form. That's called form GST 159. So CRA collections is legally prohibited from taking any action when you submit that form. There are no freezes, no garnishments, and no liens, and they must stand down until the appeals division finishes their review, and that could take years. And at that point, we've moved all your money into hidden bank accounts anyway. That's how that works. Next, number 6, move all assets into a new corporation. Who does that? Oh, yes, me. Who does this? Me. I do it for everybody. The operating corporation keeps the problem, but the assets, cash flow, equipment, customers, and banking move to a clean company. And that's a matter of an affidavit. That's how easy that is to do. This is 100% legal if done properly, so it's an at-arm's length sale, fair market value, and documented transactions. I do all of that for my clients. The CRA cannot seize what the debtor corporation no longer owns, which is why your corporation that makes money should never own anything. A second corporation should own everything. Don't be the fool that buys a building and then runs a business out of the same corporation that owns the building. Why the hell would you do that? Now, every single error that you make is tied to your property. And you know that if your corporation owns property, the CRA will deliberately misinterpret what you're saying to try to get your property from you. That's just what these pieces of crap do. Next, number 7, convert personal liability into corporate liability. If a sole proprietor owes GST, then we incorporate them and transfer the entire liability into the corporation through sale of business, asset transfer, corporate assumption of debt. This removes the individual from the CRA's crosshair. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that incredible? I do this for everybody. This is what I do. And I'm telling you all this information for free. Why would I do that? Well, because we know that our competitors are not ever going to do what I do. They're going to make videos saying that I'm wrong. All right? That's what they're going to do. Good for them. Yay. Number 8, file a director resignation backdated under provincial corporate law. Did you know that you can backdate anything that doesn't involve money? Yeah, it's a true story. So directors are personally liable for GST only while they are directors. So you call me up. Hey, Cav, man, I owe GST and they're saying I'm liable for it. What do I do? You're fired. We fire you as a director, but we go back in time. You got fired 3 years ago. That's what we do. We backdate your firing. Completely legal. Because you can remember, oh yeah, I got fired June 3rd at 4:15 p.m. 3 years ago. That's it. Fired. Now you're no longer the director, and you haven't been for 3 years. Who's the director? John Smith. No, Jesus. I don't know, man. I mean, pick your favorite character from whatever TV show you like to watch. It doesn't matter. But if you have been fired retroactively, nothing that they can do. Next, number 9, we use a continuance to move a corporation out of the province. So let's say you have a lot of GST trouble in Ontario. We can use what's called a continuance, which is to move the Ontario corporation to a different jurisdiction, and then we can amalgamate that with a different corporation and completely wipe out the old corporate tax debt because the corporation will cease to exist. Yes, so moving a corporation from Quebec to Alberta or Manitoba to Ontario, once continued, the old province loses jurisdiction. The CRA often loses continuity, which is true, they do. Provincial programs no longer apply, that's true. And collection teams get confused and they give up, that's also true. A continuance disrupts their workflow massively. So if any of you out there have a lot of corporate debt, you can sell it to me and I'll put together a continuance. And that continuance will be me moving your provincial corporation into the federal jurisdiction and then amalgamating it with one of my federal corporations. And it all goes bye-bye. Bye debt, bye CRA. Nothing you can do about it. Bye. It's that easy. It is that easy. Number 10, we attack the CRA procedurally under clauses 6 and 7 of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. We use this all the time, and it works when the CRA harasses clients, sounds illegal threats, ignores evidence, breaks timelines, and fails to respond. That is correct. So we're telling them under clause 6 and 7, you're screwed. We are going to be exercising our rights, whether you like that idea or not. I need everyone. We're at 12,000. We're not at 20,000 likes yet. Everyone, come on, double fingers. Get those double fingers going. Get them rocking, please, everybody. If you're on Twitter, share. All right, retweet or whatever they call it now. If you're on Rumble, please like and share. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Minds, it doesn't matter where you are. Please, everybody, share. Let's get those fingers going. Number right here is a little bit too low. Let's get this number to 200 tonight. Everybody, share this out, and everyone, please let your friends and family know that they gotta watch this show. We really do appreciate that. So next slide. Also under point number 10, attack the CRA procedurally under clauses 6 and 7. We file a complaint under clause 6, the right to a complete, accurate, and clear bounty of information. Clause 7, the right to complain about CRA service. Clause 7 also allows us to object to tax. And when we do that, we do not owe any tax dollars. We then notify the Office of the Taxpayers Ombudsman and internal CRA quality control, the supervisor of the agent, and the section director, and possibly call the cops and file lawsuits and possibly even hunt down the individual CRA rep who's giving you a difficult time and put a lien on their property and sue them personally for uttering threats and harassment and fraud. There you go. So all of this freezes CRA activity until the complaint is handled. That's exactly what we want to do, guys. We're always delaying and we're always buying time. And that is how you beat the CRA. We buy time. So, do any of you out there have a business? Do you charge GST? Do you charge HST? Are you tired of all the accounting? Are you just bored in general of dealing with the CRA? Are you tired of all these GST assessments that you get? Let me take over all of your tax liability, all right? All of it. So what we do is you have GST, you collect it. We collect the GST from you every month. We cut you invoices for that, which supersede all of the amounts that you would have collected. So you're going to get money back, is what I'm saying. Plus, we cut you back 6% of the GST immediately. We invest the GST, we pay it at the end of the year. So we're collecting from all of our clients, giving you back 6%, which means we have to make that 6% up, but which we do in investments. All right, that's how we take care of that. So Albu Chaudhry, if you want to get a hold of me and let me take over all of your GST issues, go to my website right now, kevinjjohnston.com, and fill out the contact form. Put down TikTok in the subject line so that I know you found me on TikTok, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we possibly can. So let me take over your payroll. You're going to save at least $5,800 per person per year. Let me take over your GST. you'll be, if I take over your GST for any corporation, you get to keep 100% of everything that you make. True. 100% is going to be yours to keep. And this is something that I've recently discovered. I went through all the case law that I possibly could. I had a 3-hour conversation with my criminal lawyer about this, and we went through every possible conceivable way that the government could conceivably think about the idea of filing charges. And there's not a single thing that I'm doing that is illegal. And I mean, not one. So let's start making some money together, everybody. Absolutely time to make money now. Get a hold of me on my website. All right. Don't forget, we got some announcements to make here. All right. Manhood Reloaded. So we're talking about the return of masculinity, why it needs to return. That's me and Jason Lamar, who's an American shit talker. I'm Canada's biggest mouth. He's the number one shit talker in the States. So we will be doing a show live in front of 110 people. There's 110 tickets for sale. They're $100 a piece. You get free a 3-course meal and an alcoholic beverage. When you join us for that show, you get a chance to meet myself and Jason Lamar. Jason's bringing his book down for signature. It'll be a 2-hour show where he and I are on stage discussing at length the merits of the return of masculinity. You do not want to miss that show. Again, it's on kevinjjohnston.com. Get a hold of me if you want to come down to Panama City and see that show live. It will be a really good time. Next, our last group consultation for 2025. Our last one is on November 26th this year, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, November 26th. There are 11 spots available. There's only 30 spots allowed. We do not allow any more than 30 people into the private chat. You get a 15, 20-minute lecture from me on how taxes work, and everybody gets to ask a very serious question about taxes. It ends up being extremely educational for everybody. It's not open to the public, and the video is never repeated to the public. It's private only. Come on in for that. And next week, you all remember Fraser Simpson. He and I disagree on a few things to do with taxes. He made a couple of videos calling me out for having called him out, which is fine. When I call someone out, I can take it. He made a couple of videos pointing out that he felt that I was wrong. I just asked, debate. He said yes. I got an email from one of his staff saying that they want to debate. I accepted. We agreed on Tuesday. So my show on Tuesday, November the 25th at 9 p.m. is going to be the first ever tax debate on this show. My first debate in years. And I'm looking very forward to my first debate in years. It's going to be a very respectful time. Nobody's going to be insulting anybody. It's going to be a matter of I bring forward my case, he brings forward his case, we rebut each other, and then we move on to the next point. It'll be a full 2-hour show. So come on in and see the two titans of tax go head to head. Going to be a lot of fun. I will now take questions from everybody. And if you're hearing a lot of popping sounds in the microphone, guys, we are 3 days away now from the third national holiday here in Panama City, which involves fireworks. Everyone's blowing fireworks off all around this building. So all the popping is fireworks, not gunfire. Alrighty. Mike, should a Canadian tax resident file a T1134 and a T1135 if they own a Panamanian corporation? If you own property or corporations outside of the country, you should never fill out a single form in Canada. It is not the CRA's business that you have any property, any companies, any business, any girlfriends, anybody outside of the country. None of you should ever tell the CRA anything about that. Hold on, I just got to get the slider done here. There we go. So the answer is no. Why would you do that? Because if you fill that form out, Mike, what happens is they'll ask you to clarify. And then that form leads to a second form, leads to a third form. Who's paying you for your time to fill that out? I tell everyone, you want me to fill this form out? It doesn't benefit me. You're not paying me. The answer is no. Don't fill those forms out. Matthew, if you day trade on crypto, do you have to pay the tax when they want you to pay? Matthew, if you keep your mouth shut about crypto, there's no way they'll ever know. Why would you tell anybody that you day trade in crypto, especially the CRA? Here's the deal with crypto. Today, Bitcoin's worth 153,000. You buy it, it drops. But the CRA is stupid. They don't know how crypto works, so they'll tax you at the 150,000, not the 132,000 it dropped to the next day. So with them, they'll ask questions. They'll want you to put it down as a capital gain. And when you put down capital gains on a tax return, there are 2, sometimes 3 more forms you have to fill out, and no one's paying you for your time for that. Every question you answer will lead the CRA to another question. Every single question that you answer leads to more questions. You want the CRA away from you. So no, you do not report crypto. Keep that to yourself. All right. And yes, everybody, I am buying Instagram channels. Thank you for reminding me. If anyone's got Instagram channels for sale, I am buying Instagram channels. All right. Do you share structuring with reference on OpCo being owned by Numbered Corp? Do you share structuring? Oh, I think what you're asking me there is if you structure a holdco and companies down below it, do you share that information with the CRA? Hell no, you do not. That's your business, nobody else. If your corporation is not publicly traded, everything to do with it needs to be private. Just be quiet about that. All right. So everybody who's got an Instagram account, please email me through my website. Put the word Instagram in the subject line, and I will contact you. And thank you very much for offering that up. We need to have as many Instagram channels as we possibly can. All right. Z-Man says, but exchanges have to report to the CRA. Nobody has to report to the CRA. The crypto exchanges choose to report, and I, as a result, choose not to deal with Canadian crypto companies. It's that simple. I don't deal with any of them. Chowdhury, they have gone to my bank account and garnished my pay. You are allowed to sue the bank, and you are allowed to file criminal charges against the bank manager for theft, but it would be better if we redid your taxes and get your tax bill to zero, and the garnishment order has to end immediately. Pedro, are you still helping with sole proprietor taxes or not at the moment? Yeah. Okay, Pedro, if you've got a GST number or an HST number attached to your sole proprietorship, I can absolutely wipe out all of your sole proprietor tax debt. We cleared up our entire backlog. I'm ready for more clients who have sole proprietorships. If you want to get that done, Pedro, hit the contact form on the website. Let me know that you're ready to start. All right. Put that in the subject line. You're ready to begin. Give us your information and we'll get cracking. All right. How about filing a form NR73 to become a non-tax? Why? Okay, guys, listen up. You have the right to remain silent. Use it. If you're going to leave the country, you don't have to make any grandiose announcements. Every time that you make a grandiose announcement, somebody's got their hands in your pocket asking for money. Happens every single time. You don't want people asking you for money. Why would you want anyone asking? Don't do that. If you're going to leave Canada, then just quietly slip out the back door, and that's it. There's nothing more that that would need to happen than that. So come on, be silent. Go. Say nothing. Next. All right. So Canola, you still want to join the team? We have a private training session happening on Thursday night. It's free of charge. If anybody wants to learn how to sell these services, if you want to know more about how you can make money, let us know on the contact form, and someone will get back to you. We won't get the Zoom link out to you until about 2 hours before the show. It's not a show. It is a private meeting. There's only 10 spots. So if you want to learn how to sell what I'm doing for a living, do indeed let me know. All right. And for those of you watching on Rumble, I just want to confirm, can you see the show live in real time? It's currently 10:05 p.m. Let me know in the comments if you can do that, please. Thank you very much. So we got some questions here. Yeah, Instagram was taken down, everybody, for those who are asking. Spitting in the wind, or Spitting Ward, Speedwin Ward. Thank you very much for the $5 donation. I really appreciate that. Looking forward to meeting everybody in person that wants to come down here to Panama to do exactly that. All right. My website, my .me website, probably right now is propagating. We have now shut down the old .me website, kevinjjohnston.me, because it's not relevant anymore. I'm not a full-time social commentator. I'm a full-time tax guy. So the .me should point directly to .com. All right. Kevin, during your consultation, is it possible to discuss about the numbered corporation bank accounts between both federal and provincial banks? I'll answer that question right now, everybody. So federal banks, federal chartered banks are the big boys. Bank of Montreal, Toronto Dominion Bank, Scotiabank, Royal Bank, HSBC, if they're still around, National Bank. I'm missing a couple. I'm missing some, whatever it is. They're federally chartered, so whatever the federal government says to do, they do. The provincial banks are chartered by the provinces and governed by the securities commissions of each province. They're called credit unions. So the provincial charters that are issued are not governed by the federal government. And because the entire country operates on the Canadian dollar, it does not matter that a bank is provincially chartered. It's legal for it to be exactly that, everyone. So I always tell everybody, don't put all your eggs in one basket, everyone. I would highly recommend that you get at least one federal bank and at least one provincial bank. Spread your money around. Jybrex, what if I open a holding company and buy gold in it and never do any tax on it for 30 years? If your corporation hasn't done tax in 30 years, it's probably been dissolved by the government anyway. So one of the tricks that we pulled to keep them off your back, if you're holding gold or crypto or assets or houses, we submit a null tax return with an explanation letter telling them that there is no commerce taking place, at which point there's absolutely no tax, period. You've been looking into Panama. There's a lot of good business opportunities here, Jay. Absolutely there are. All right. Abdul says they keep calling you for corporate tax you owe. What does it cost to sell a corporation that you owe tax on? So what happens, everyone? I'm going to buy your company for $1, and I'm going to sell you back all your assets for 10% of the value of your entire debt. Congratulations. You're now walking away from 90% of your entire tax debt. So sell me your corporations with debt. I will take every single penny of debt that each and every one of you have. All right, so have a look at the Rumble room here. All right, yes, everyone. Today is November the 18th. It's currently 10:08 p.m. Eastern time. And thank you all for checking in to make sure that Rumble's running smooth, which we have now found out that it is. Let's check the YouTube room and Twitch. All right. Yes, everyone, this is a live show. Kevin, would you like many viewers? Okay, someone on Kick keeps asking me if I want to buy viewers. My Lord. Frank Goofy, thank you for all the kind words there. Nutra Rebel is watching from Ecuador. Fantastic. You're a couple of months late for corporate filing. Is this an issue? No, just so long as when you're filing late, that you make sure your taxes are at a loss and you're going to be just fine. Can you unfreeze a court order on a checking account? They don't get court orders. There's no court order on a frozen bank account. The banks froze it because the CRA asked them to. You can sue the bank and get your account open pretty damn fast. How can you sign up for the live, the 25th of November? Head over to my website, kevinjjohnston.com, and you'll be able to buy your spot there. If you got a corporation to sell, then just type in kevinjjohnston.biz, and you'll be able to contact my team, and I can take over your corporation at that point. So there we go. This show is live on freedomreport.ca every Tuesday at 9 p.m. This is the Tax and Money Show, and thank you all for being here. We still got a little ways to go yet. We have a lot of questions in the room. Let's have a look here. at the YouTube room. What happens if you die and you were, what happens if I die and I was doing your taxes? What happens then? Will we still be safe, or how would we still have your services? Well, I've trained my team pretty well. I got a good team. They wouldn't be as efficient as I am at figuring out the laws, but eventually they would be, because I'm showing them exactly which laws to read and why. But the show will go on. I'm training my team so well that it could probably go at least a while without me in place. And what I got to do then, I guess, everyone, is really, very, very quickly finish writing my book so all of you know how to do this too. What's the difference between your contracts? Sorry, what's the difference between my contracts and what? There's something missing in that question. All right. SR, tax mechanic guy is refuting so many of your claims on TikTok. True, he is. But I challenged him to a debate. He said yes. We've agreed to debate. So next week's show will be a debate with the tax mechanic. All right, everyone? We are debating on this show. Do not miss that show. All right. How fast to sue them? They froze your account. Well, you can write a lawsuit in a day and get it into the courts the same day and serve it. Right? It doesn't take long to get that part done. The lengthy part is the due process to get to court with it. But it can be done. You'd be amazed, though, that banks typically, if you tell them, I will drop this suit if you unlock my bank account, they will typically do that. Tax court sent another letter today denying tax court. I would need more of that story if you don't mind. How rock solid is a Panama foundation for asset holding? 100%. Actually, I'll tell you this, everyone. If you have a deed on anything in Panama, it is more solid than Canada. No one can take it from you. Nobody can take your property from you in Panama, period. And that is why hotels will sell you a hotel room on a deed. You own that room. And in the deed, they're responsible for providing you with water, electricity, and so on. Yeah, there's hotel rooms for sale in really nice hotels where you would have access to the pool and the restaurant and the rooftop bars for $80,000. So if you want to live on a budget, you could buy a hotel room, get rid of the big double bed, put a small single bed in, and have yourself a really nice space to live. Now, if you're living in a hotel room, you'd probably be like me. I lived in hotels for 4 years when I was in the States. I never bothered getting an apartment beyond about 4 months out of the 5 years I was in the States. And I loved it. And I spent my time at the pool deck or at the gym or in the restaurant. Some of them had rooftop bars. Some had nice terraces, whatnot. There was always somewhere to go and something to do in a hotel. I wouldn't just be stuck in a room with a bed and a desk. Right? There we are. Sorry, my corporate contracts on a numbered corp. I'm sorry, simulation. I'm not understanding your question. Could you please rephrase? Armis, looking for advice to have a holdco own the shares of an opco. Oh, that's fine. You can register a holding company to hold all of the shares of an operations company. Absolutely. A holding company can hold whatever you want. Tony, do you take all your fee up front? If the invoice is under 10 grand, yes. If it's over 10 grand, it's 50 deposit, 50 upon completion. That's how we do it. Is it possible? Okay. All right. Can they go after my home if I owe CRA money? Usually after about 5 or 6 years, but you would have had to have ignored them for that entire amount of time. It would not be the kind of thing where they just show up and take your house. You would have had to have ignored these people for a very, very long time. Will I ever live in the USA? How about this? Here's the offer I'll make. I'll live in the United States if some really dynamite looking lady with a lot of money decides that she wants to bed down with a guy and get me American citizenship. Sure. Yeah. But you got to be hot. Okay. You got to be hot. I have very discriminating tastes. That's about it. Maybe one day I'd live in the States, but it's not a necessity right now. America's got its own problems. It really does have a lot of problems. There's a lot of economic opportunity there, but there is no more of an advantage. In fact, I would think right now there's less of an advantage to me working in the United States as would be working in Panama. New York, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Kansas City, Atlanta, Valdosta, Biloxi. All these cities are crashing. They're going down. St. Louis is cooked. It's done. Then you've got Oklahoma City. It's done. Like it's horrible. America is falling apart. And I don't have a desire to try to rescue a city with some harebrained scheme. That's not what I'm on this planet to do. I want to make money. I want to make a lot of money, which is what I can do here in Panama. A lot more money because Panama's being built up. It's not falling apart. It's being built up. It's in its ascendancy, and I prefer civilizations in ascendancy versus decline. My father did not have a will. Can I still become director of his corporation? Well, if I'm your tax guy, yes, you can. If you're dealing with standard lawyers in Canada, probably not, because most lawyers in Canada just absolutely suck. Texas or Florida, Jules, I love both Texas and Florida. I really do. Here's the cool part about making the choice. If I had to pick, I would take Florida because there's just so much more to do involving the water with amusement parks and crazy bars and whatnot. But Texas has more money. JetBlue is what, $79 to fly from Orlando or from St. Petersburg to Houston or to Dallas or to Austin. So, Jules, just fly. I would be content to have properties in both states and just fly around meeting up with people. The best part about the USA is just how many cities there are in America with more than 500,000 people. And if you're bored in your home state, jump on JetBlue for $50 in some cases, $125, and go somewhere else. Just go walk around a city you've never been to and then head back. Why the hell not? What's the minimum amount of corporate debt you're willing to buy? Gus, I'll take any corporation with any amount of debt, but because the legal fees are so high, the minimum charge is $10,000 Canadian. There's no tax on that. 10 flat, and the deal is done. So if I sell you my corporation with the tax I owe to you, they can still go after my home. No. If you have corporate tax debt, I take all the corporate tax debt from you, all of it. They cannot chase you for anything. My contracts are solid. We are making sure that we are working within the confines of all laws to do with it. Yeah, excuse me. And the corporation belongs to me. I apologize, folks. I've been up since 4. The noise in this part of town during party week is crazy. I just, by default, the fireworks woke me up at 4. And I've been at it since 4 a.m. All right. Okay, so U.S. residency means tax paid to the United States worldwide forever. Only an idiot would want that. No, that's not residency. That's citizenship. Like, that's not true for Puerto Ricans under the protectorate. That's also not true for Western Samoa under protectorate status. That also would not be the case for Alberta with protectorate status. So you always got to factor in that a U.S. national does not have to pay tax on everything they make everywhere else around the world. They just don't. A U.S. citizen does. Graziano, flying within the USA is cheaper than flying within Canada. A flight from Toronto to Winnipeg, $2,400. Yeah, Canada just rips everybody off. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. What if you have money sent to the CRA and they have refused to allocate the funds? Allocate them to who? Are you talking taking tax dollars and allocating them properly? Or are you talking about if you sent the money, will they give it back to you? In some cases, they will give it back to you, but I didn't fully understand the question. Could you please rephrase that, Steve? I appreciate it. Jules, invest in Panama and Texas, revenue properties, live in Florida. I love Florida. I mean, Jules, what are you trying to do? Marry me and move me to Florida? Is that what's going on here? I know Tampa well. I know the whole area. So Bradenton, Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete's Beach, St. Petersburg, Indian Shores, Indian Rocks, Johns Pass, Tarpon Springs. What else do you have there? Well, it's all in Pinellas County. Man, there's so many great bars and restaurants in Western Florida. Plus, I love the beach in Indian Rocks Beach. It is positively Clearwater, not so much. Indian Rocks Beach, I absolutely love the beach there. So I would absolutely just bounce back and forth. You see, I'm not going to be settling down anytime soon. All right. I love the idea of being able just to pick up, get in a plane and go. I can take my laptop with me. I can take my phones with me. So long as I've got data, I have access to my client base. But Florida is one of the places, one of the few that I would consider retirement in, only because I know it so well. And I've always loved it because it has a lot of variety. And yes, Sia, it's absolutely unaffordable in Canada. How's the AI coming along? Our AI for doing taxes will be launched in January, just like we promised. It's going great. It's understanding everything that it's supposed to do based on what's inside this mind here. All right. So we're training the CRA to think, the AI to think like me to beat the CRA. That's exactly what we're doing. All right. Let me check the questions here in email. Question. Oh, this is a Rumble question. Question. Do you register your doing business as or trade names with the Ontario Business Registry? It's not necessary if you're going to have a numbered corporation doing business as any particular name to register a trade name in Ontario. Alberta, it's an absolute must. In Ontario, it's not a requirement, but it helps. It just helps you keep everything on the level. You know, what is it, $100 to register a trademark? Why not? My corporation owns a couple of properties that have private mortgages on them. If I sell the corp, how do I prevent the lenders from demanding full payment due to change of ownership? Well, hold on. If you're selling that corporation, the houses would go with it. Maybe you could rephrase that question for me. Yeah, if you sell the corp that owns houses, you lose the houses. They go with the corporation. All right. So question. I have an acquaintance friend from the gym who owns 3 large car dealerships. I would love to take Thursday night skills course that would help me set payroll. Yeah. Okay. So Fit Chick, you got to get a hold of Andrew at kevinjjohnston.com. I'll throw that in the private chat for you right now. Spell it correctly, of course. There you go. Let him know that you're a Fit Chick from Rumble and that you'd like to join us for the private session. Now, remember, folks, there's only 10. There's only 10 people allowed in for Thursday. It's only going to be an hour, and we're going to be going through how to sell my tax services so you guys can make huge commissions. I pay the best commissions in the business. All right. So Abdullah, you owe $50K on your corporation. Well, like I said, there's a $10K minimum because the legal fees are really high. Like for me to get 7 contracts signed and registered and have the lawyers work on all of that on both of our behalf, it's a lot of money. So at $10,000, we don't make anything, just for the record. But I'd still do it for you because I'd like to see you get rid of your debt and start over. That is an absolute we could do for sure. All right. Jules, if someone wants to buy revenue properties, they should try Panama more than Florida and Texas. Florida's having some trouble. All right. And I'll be monitoring it very closely. One of the problems with Florida, especially on the west side of Florida, we're talking from Fort Myers all the way up to Tarpon Springs. That's a big area. Condominium groups are not getting the revenue they thought that they would. So what happens is they say, we want a new roof. All right. So they're charging everybody who owns a condo $10,000, and they'll put it onto your condo fees, whether you want them to or not. You don't pay the condo fees, they'll take you to court and get the money anyway. Now, you've got to really pay attention when you're buying a condominium right now on the west coast of Florida to make sure that no shenanigans are taking place. A lot of that kind of stuff does happen all the time. You want to make sure that the homeowners association also don't have their hands in it. It's bad enough you have to deal with the landlord, or sorry, the owner of the building, let alone an HOA, both of them looking for money, plus your property tax. I would be, if I'm going to get into rental properties in Florida, house on its own lot. I'm not buying condominiums in Florida. But in Panama, buying condos in good buildings works very, very well. I'm having a blast. I'm renting out a couple of my condos right now, and I'm doing very well in the rental game with that. The rental fees I get for my condominiums pay for my entire life here in Panama, period. All right. Okay. Oh, what? So, Coffee Queen, I'm studying real estate right now. All right. Well, Coffee Queen, stick around because I'm Canada's #1 tax expert. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate that. And you'll learn how to not pay tax ever again. If you are studying real estate to become a real estate agent, you want to make sure that you never pay tax. Collect it, keep it, never pay it. All right. So stick around, please. All right. Next, Mike. BCFMA froze by Canadian passport without notice, violating their own rules. BCFMA. Who's BCFMA? That's not the Family Responsibility Office, is it? Let me know who that is. I got to look into the law on that one. If you start another corporation, transfer the houses into that. It's a simple transaction, no realtor. Yeah, so if you have a house, remember we always said this? Here's your house. All right, everyone? Right there. You're on title. We get a numbered corporation, and we just very quietly add that to title and very quietly remove you. You don't sell the house. It's just a title transfer, completely legal, no tax. Absolutely legal with no tax whatsoever. All right. Let's have a look here. We're back in the Rumble room right now. Fit Chick. As a Canadian, how can you purchase a home in the United States for a rental or a vacation rental? Always, always, always through a holding company. Always through a holding company. You buy a holding company, which are like $100 in the States, put the property into that, apply for your ITIN number and your EIN number. The FBI will check you out to make sure you're not a drug dealer. They will clear you within 2-3 weeks, and then you can apply for your E2 visa. It is really that simple. Oh, British Columbia Family Maintenance. So what do? Froze your passport. Froze your passport. Okay, so I would imagine that what we would need to do with that, like filing a lawsuit against them is one way to get that done. Filing criminal charges for extortion, you could do that. Really piss them off. One of the things that you'd like to do is we make a deal with them that we have no intentions of keeping, right? So we'll say, listen, if you want me to pay you something, I can start making payments March 1st, but I need my passport unlocked so that I can use it to get a bank account. They do it. And if you need to, that's when we file those lawsuits. By the way, everybody, this is something new as well. If any of you out there are having any issues with the Family Responsibility Office or the Canadian government suspending your Canadian driver's license, I can now get you a real Mexican driver's license, which will be valid in Canada. It's part of NAFTA. You could actually drive in Canada with a Mexican driver's license. $1,950 plus 50 for shipping. So $2,000 USD, and I'll get it for you. It's not fake. It's real. All right. It's real. It's done out of Mexico City. There's a great guy. I'm not telling you who he is. I'm not telling you. Actually, I lied to you. It's not in Mexico City, but I'm throwing you off. Nonetheless, it's done by someone who works for a certain agency that makes driver's licenses. That's all you need to know. So if you want a driver's license that the Canadian government cannot take away from you, valid in Mexico, United States, Canada, Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Panama, then you let me know. All right, we can get you a driver's license, and all you got to do is get me a copy of your passport, like a brand new passport photo, and your signature on a white piece of paper, really crystal clear. Boom. The license will be done in 5 days and shipped out within 5 more. Within 15 days, you'll have a Mexican driver's license. So if anybody wants one of those, let me know. I told you all, I'm expanding very rapidly into the international market. And that's the other one. Now I'm doing business in Mexico too. You're in Panama from January 1st to March 1st. I want to stay in Costa del Este. What's the best option? Costa del Este is cool, brother. It is. It's a nice area. If you ever look at Google Maps, everybody, Costa del Este is on the extreme east side of Panama City, nowhere near the canal. It's like 24 kilometers away from the canal, but it's only about 2 or 3 kilometers away from the airport. Costa del Este was a garbage dump 10 years ago. Now it's a perfect grid pattern area full of gringos. There's a lot of Americans, Canadians, Brits, and Aussies and New Zealanders, Europeans who live in Costa del Este. It's also got a really nice mall. They did this really cool thing in Costa del Este. They built a mall and a hospital combined. So if you're in the hospital there, you can walk around the mall and go back to your room. Nice movie theater, $6 to watch movies. Olive Garden, all you can eat soup and salad. That's still on there. Victoria's Secrets, all of it. They got a indoor go-kart track. They've got bowling alleys. They got it all. It's a really nice area of the city. It's the upper scale part of Panama City. I prefer the far west side of the city where the canal is. There's a lot more action, but to each their own. You'll have a good time in Costa del Este, but don't be afraid to go and see downtown, to which Costa del Este is still about 19 kilometers from downtown and is absolutely 24 Ks away from the canal. So you'll be doing a bit of traveling in taxi cabs and in Ubers. Now, for those of you out there who've never been to Panama, what you'll want to do is before you get in a cab, tell the guy where you want to go, negotiate the price, and you just tell him whatever the Uber price was, tell him $1 less. 9 times out of 10, they say, okay, jump in. If they meet the price that I want to pay, I always give them an extra couple of bucks. Yesterday, this crazy cab driver picked me up. He took me 7 kilometers for $5. This guy was 2 words, insane. I put the seatbelt on because he was in between traffic, but he got me where I needed to go 5 minutes early. I gave him a $5 tip. So occasionally you get yourself a good driver who knows the area well, but always negotiate the price of a cab in advance. Jules, are you selling properties with mortgages in Canada? Is that what you're doing? Let me know. What should someone do if I'm selling a mortgage personal property? Well, you would sell the property and you would get the profit. Everything else would go to the bank. But that's also where I come in. You could utilize my holding company, my actual trust co, to put your money into there. And then what I would do is renegotiate the rate with the bank. I would cut you your share right away and try to get a better bank rate on that money. Okay, see ya. In many cases, it's not a matter of deadbeat dads. What the problem with the family responsibility consideration? The office take men's driver's licenses away just because the girls who worked there didn't like the guy. That's it. They have been given way too much power. And all of you know the Canadian government's put me in prison for 7 months of my life for telling you there was no pandemic and that don't take the needles, and that you don't have to pay tax, and that you don't have to put up with bylaw officers because bylaws do not pertain to you and me. I told you all that stuff. And the Canadian government was kind enough to let me see the inside of, I think, 8 or 9 different prisons. And I can tell you about 80% of the guys in there did not deserve to be there. They were there because some cop was a jerk. They were there because some judge had a bad day. They were there because some girlfriend lied and said, he beat me because she didn't get her way. The amount of guys in there for nothing is disgusting. So I don't judge the story. What I'm in this for is to make money, everybody. So if you want a Mexican driver's license, I'll get it for you. I make a little bit of money on the deal. If I was to sell 10,000, I'd probably make about $3 million. I like money. I will help anybody advance their life any which way imaginable. And keep this in mind also, I am very familiar, everybody, with family court. They are the most grossly unfair things on the planet. I can't believe that it even exists. I would never accept the judgment of any family court. Fortunately, I was able to keep my marriage intact to the point where my kids became adults, but I despise family court. I hate it. So I'm sorry, Jules, equity tax. There is no equity tax in Canada. Are you talking about capital gains? That would happen if you buy a secondary property and then sell it for a profit. That's when the capital gain comes in. What kind of action is better on the west side of Panama? I'm looking for business networking. All right, you'll find the major businessmen don't hang out in Costa del Este. They live there. They hang out in Panama. Is it the Trump Tower? Look up Trump Tower. There's a lot of millionaires that hang out right in that downtown core area. But closer to the canal, what you're looking at is a very interesting combination of broke people and really rich people. So you'll get a chance to network with both. The west side of Panama, to me, is just more exciting. Why? Because it is being gentrified completely. So there are areas that look like Harlem did back in 1996. And there are areas that are absolutely so beautifully spit and polish that you can't believe you're in Latin America. That's what you get on the west side. Costa del Este, everything's brand new. Everything is new. Nothing's older than 10 to 12 years, which is fine if you're into brand new city life. Good for you. I like a combination of the old and the new, which is why I prefer the west side. You know, see it for yourself. You got to see it to understand it. If I don't want to pay any more taxes to government, but I want to get paid in a corporation, how do you go about it? So look, everyone, if you have a corporation and I set your corporate life up for you, you'll never pay tax again for the rest of your life, and you'll keep 100% of what you make. All right. So why don't everyone who wants to know more about it join me for my last group session for the year, which is taking place at the last Wednesday of every month, except for December, is the group consultation. So that is the 26th of November at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's the last Wednesday of November, and it's the last group consultation of the year. The next one will be 60 days later in January, and we can talk about corporations. It's actually a really good time. A lot of people ask a lot of really good questions during our time together. All right, next question here. I saw a few of them. Okay. When a home is put under your own corporation, why do you still need to remove yourself as the director? Because the director is a ceremonial title that the CRA will always chase. And let's just say that you personally get sued for something. If you're the director of a corporation and the person really wants a piece of you and they hire a good private investigator, they'll find you based on the fact that your name is attached as the director of the corporation. And that would be the only database they could check is the director database. Because if you don't tell anybody who the shareholders are, there's no way that they'll know. So you never want to be the director even of a holdco. You want to be the shareholder, but not the director. Jules, if you have capital gains in any particular tax year, make sure I'm your tax guy and I'll completely wipe it out by putting down capital losses. Remember, I buy corporations in debt for a living. I have a lot of capital losses. I could simply sell you, and that debt would be gone, absolutely gone completely. Are there any condo fees or special assessment in the hotel rooms or condos in Panama? I own 2 condos in the same building, close to the Panama Canal. And I can tell you that the maintenance fees are $145 a month for each one. That gets me access to 2 rooftop pools and private security and 24-hour concierge and parking space and all that. And the property tax is $128 per unit per year. That's it. There's no HOA fees. That's it. Plus, the owner group, they're a bunch of good guys. So I'm very pleased with where I live. I have another condo right downtown. I'm selling it. It's actually on my TikTok channel if you want to see it. I'm selling that condo. I paid, what did I pay for that? Oh, I think I paid $249. I'm selling it for $299 or best offer. And the only reason I'm selling it is because I'm buying 1,200 acres of land outside the city because I've got a project in mind that you're going to absolutely love. But there you go. The special fees, there's no special fees, just the standard fees I've mentioned. Hilarious Eli, how do you close down a corporation you don't need anymore? Sell it to me. Make sure that I take that over so that there's never going to be any liability whatsoever. Just go to Kevin J. Johnston, my name, kevinjjohnston.biz, and you'll be able to sell me that corporation. Jules, capital gains, any solutions, property tax on home equity. All right, the only tax that I have not found a way to beat in Canada is property tax. But there is an Indian chief named Red Feather. He is well aware of my particular view on this native nonsense. I've told him to his face, I like you as a man. You're a good guy. But if you want to shove native stuff in my face, I'm going to tell you where to go because your people were conquered. You weren't displaced. You weren't oppressed. You lost the war. That's just how it is. And then not only did you lose the war, but you lost the war against other native tribes as well. And then the white man gave you free land and free money. And you're still not happy with that. However, because I can't stand the white man's court, because I hate the Canadian court system, I'm actually working with these gentlemen. They're working on a way to abolish property tax forever. That is actually something that I fully support. Let's see where that goes. But beyond that, you don't have to pay income tax or anything else. All right. Hey, Sandra. Good to see you again. All right, let me go back to the YouTube channel. We got some more questions here on YouTube. Do you think that they'll start taxing the equity on houses in Canada? When a government is desperate, they do all kinds of crazy stuff. There's a good possibility that they'll place a bill forward to do so. I wouldn't be surprised, which is why I own property in Canada. But if I find out this might be a thing, I'm going to offload all of it. And then follow up to the following question. If one has a personal house as the only remaining asset that the government knows exists, can an individual and his wife disappear under a corporation or holding co? 100%. Absolutely. Move the house into a hold co. Do not be the director, just be the shareholders, and you've disappeared. Congratulations on that. Yeah, okay. So, Mike, the passport will be an issue for you. You got to make a deal with these people. You don't have to carry through with it, but if there's some other residency that you can get your hands on, then what you can do is apply for asylum after you get residency. Panama, you can get a pensionado residency between 4 days and 4 weeks. Doesn't take long. And then you could apply for asylum. That is something you could do. Make a statement that you're being oppressed by the Canadian government and they're trying to trap you in the country for no good reason whatsoever. And that's really what it boils down to is this passport thing. They're trying to lock you in. If you have any way to get a passport from another country, I always recommend that. You got to have at least 3. I have 2 now. I won't tell you what my other citizenship is. It was a recent addition, but I've got two, and that makes life very comfortable. Yes, Coffee Queen, this is Canada. I live in Panama. I'm a Canadian citizen, unfortunately. I was born in Toronto. Everything I'm telling you today is Canadian tax law. Unless I say otherwise, it's Canadian. And the only other tax that I would say otherwise or teach otherwise will be Australian tax, because we just expanded into Australia 3 days ago. Can you beat probate if it's already been filed? Yes, you would make a demand that the probate lawyer be excused. You can fire the probate lawyer and tell him to return all of your funds. If he doesn't do it, call the cops. Never put a house in a probate. It's a waste of time. The only one that makes money is the lawyer, not you. What is the best way not to pay income tax if your boss pays you personally? So Jay Brillex, a couple of ways. Tell the boss you want to go on contract and cut him invoices because you get better write-offs. The other thing that we can do is put you down with heavy medical expenses, heavy T2125 form expenses, heavy expenses in general, and wipe out the tax debt and get everything back you paid in the following tax year. By the way, everybody, somehow we got stuck at 25,000 likes. We got to get this number. Let's go to 40K. Everyone, 2 fingers right now. Rock the 2 fingers, please, everybody. Get that going. And this number here, let's get this up. Share, share, share. Send this out to absolutely everybody that you know, please. Same with all of you on Rumble. There's 12 likes. That's not enough. We got to get at least 25 tonight on Rumble. Everybody hit the like button now, please. It really does help. Alrighty. Yes, for those who are curious about buying a hotel room on a deed, you don't even need a realtor for that. You just need a lawyer. I got a lawyer that would take care of you for about $3,500 down here. You can negotiate directly with the hotel. There's a hotel. You'll love it. It's the biggest building floor space wise in Latin America. It's called Megapolis. It's right downtown. It's got a huge pool on the 15th floor. It's got a rooftop bar. It's about 900 feet above the ground. And the lobby's huge. It's got 2 really big bars. You can use the lobby for business. No one says a word to you. You also, it's attached to a mall. In the mall is a big gym, a whole bunch of good retail stores, huge parking lot, everything. So Megapolis is selling hotel rooms for between $85,000 and $150,000 US. You can live in a hotel room that you own. I love Panama for that. Everything's on a deed. You could buy a shed on someone's property on a deed, just so you know. That's how wild and crazy property is here. Tony, do I do US taxes? I'd love to, because the American market is just so huge. You know, you could retire on, like, if I did 0.1% of the American populace's taxes, I'd be a billionaire. But I've spent all my time studying Canadian tax law. So right now I have to say no. But that could change. I owned a condominium in Gatineau, Quebec. One day the condo board said we need to make new elevators and windows and doors. They wanted $12K in the next 3 months and $15,000 in the next year. Quebec is horrible for that. It's absolutely horrible for that. And if you're going to be a condo owner, a lot of people live life assuming that they're never going to be on the hook for repairs. The problem with owning a condo is that the repairs are not just for your living space. It's for the entire building. And that's what they do. Whereas if you've got a house, I remember the roof blew off of my house. It blew off in a windstorm. Insurance covered the whole thing. And then they did a crap job. So I decided not to bring that same company back and do it myself. A new roof was only $3,000. That's it. But I mean, it's just plywood and shingles. And the reason I like owning a house is that even though I have to repair my own house, I'm only repairing one structure, my house, not the whole building. Yeah, you got to be careful where you buy condos, everyone. I would never buy a condo or a townhouse or in Ontario or Quebec, because that kind of crap happens all the time. What's my take on the new budget? I hate liberals, But I am very happy about this budget, and I am very happy about the Liberal Party being in power because Canadians are panicking, and I have never been richer. There you go. They are going to put the final nail in the coffin. Canadians sat back on their asses. They did nothing when their country was being taken from them, and now Mark Carney is there to finish the job. Countries like Canada and Australia and the United Kingdom, they have to crash hard before they can be rebuilt. There's no political solution to Canada or the UK or Australia. There is only complete crash. Carney will get it there faster. I've wanted to see Canada crash for a very long time, mainly because the weakest of the weak are in charge of that country, and the far left runs every branch of government. It'll crash. In 10 to 15 years, a bunch of strong conservatives will stand up and start to take over. I'll be in my late 60s. I probably won't give a crap at that point. So my thoughts are it's going to bankrupt the country, and I'm happy about that. Not because that's good for the people, but because it's good for me. And I'm being honest with you. I make a lot of money because the Liberals are in power. But I still hate them. Do I know anything about CEBA business loans? If anybody has a CEBA business loan and it's attached to your corporation and you sell me that corporation, the CEBA loan becomes mine, not yours. That's how that works. Very good. Panama condominiums and hotel rooms, no extra renovation costs. Actually, that's a good question, Jules, is the vast majority of condos come fully furnished. Fully furnished. The vast majority. If you buy a hotel room, it's fully furnished. Desk, chair, lamps, bed, obviously toilet and sink. But yeah, most places are furnished. And if you're looking to buy, sorry guys, I'm exhausted. If you're looking to buy furniture, there are places I could take you to where there's really high-end stuff and it's cheap. It's really cheap. I've also got a custom desk and table guy that does things very well and very inexpensive. All right, let's check the other rooms here. All right. Oh, so Steve, you're asking me, what do you do when someone dies? You tell the CRA 3 years later. You close the estate up. You make sure you grab all the money out of the bank accounts, move it wherever you want. You make sure you don't sell the property. You just transfer title of the property. Find out every single thing they have, like life insurance policies and whatever else might be out there. Grab it all. Then 3 years later, you do the final tax return. You never, never, never tell the CRA that somebody is dead until you've cleaned everything up. You do it 3 years later, and they say, oh, we have to assess the taxes. You say, it's okay, guys, we got this, because before you contact the CRA to let them know the person is dead, you would just submit their taxes right up to the day that they died, and that would be it. Nothing that they can do. All right. All right. So, Jules, you mean no special assessment fees, condos, whole? Well, I would guess that some condominiums in Panama, like any city, will have some maintenance fees that they're asking you for. But I have heard zero horror stories about condo buildings that make you pay vast amounts of money. There's only one condominium in the entire city of Panama that that I know of where people are not getting the cooperation from the owner to get their units deeded. Very, very strange building, very strange guy. He's got too many projects on the go at the same time. And he's got 3 buildings that are only half built. So you got to be careful with guys like that. If you're going to buy condos, everyone, buy them in buildings that are completely finished or just about to open. And then you're going to be A-okay. SR says, you're rooting for me in the debate next week. I better have a nap before showtime. I can't be yawning during a debate. There's actually a place in your home insurance where you can pay for special assessment fees in your condo. Beautiful. Then make sure you buy that policy. That would be a really good policy to have. Absolutely a really good one. All right. My corporation owes tax debts and owns properties that are leveraged. If I sell you the corp, how do I transfer the properties to a new corp without triggering the due sale clause from the lenders? So my question then, first off, I would need to know why your corporation that owns your houses has debt. That would be one there, because we might be able to just wipe out the debt with redoing 3 years of taxes. I would need to know the whole story on that one, because I might be able to rescue that corporation with the appropriate paperwork. Jay Danke, I have a rental property I wasn't claiming, but I got audited through net worth, and now I want to sell the rental, but I had to claim it as a rent. All right, first off, I know what you're saying. If you buy a rental property, do not tell the CRA. Do not write off the operation costs and the repair costs of that property. Just take the rent and shut up. That's what you do. Don't tell the CRA, because they're always going to want to know everything about that property. Everything. Also, if you're buying rental properties, they should never, ever be in your personal name. Put them into a numbered corporation, one corporation per house and one house per corporation. Please keep your mouths closed about that. All right. So Jay Danke, I can always fix your taxes, and we can always move the house to a different numbered corporation. And once that's done, just collect rent and that's all you do. I can fix it. It can always be fixed. It's not a problem to do that. All right, let me just check the Rumble room here, and I'm checking YouTube. Yeah, every show. Every show. No, I am not married. Every single. Who's asking me this time? Oh, there's no icon. Why does that matter? Well, what's going on here? Doesn't matter. All right. If you have a judgment on your house that came from the CRA, we can eliminate that with filing a motion in the court to get rid of it by filing a lawsuit against the CRA for tort fraud. That's exactly how we do it. Okay, everyone. Hey, wow, that 2 hours just flew past. So please keep in mind, everyone, that if you want to make money, if you want to work with me selling this tax service, then there's only 10 spots. It's first come, first serve. It's this Thursday for 1 hour. We're going to have a private conversation. The cameras must be on. There'll be no anonymity in that room at all. Because if you're going to do business with me and work with me, I need to know who you are. I'll be explaining to all of you how the tax system works, how we make our money, and how the commission structures work for yourselves. So let us know. Head over to my website, kevinjjohnston.com/contact, or just hit the contact button. Let us know that you want in for Thursday's training session. And a special thing is happening tomorrow. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'm live only on TikTok. Only on TikTok. It's going to be with me and with Jason Lamar, the guy who runs the amazing Instagram channel called Jason. And he will be, we'll talk about masculinity for about an hour, hour and a half. He's the guy that I'm doing the public speaking engagement with down in Panama City. So everyone, do not miss tomorrow night. We're going to go live again, only on TikTok. Wow. Whew, 2 hours just absolutely flew past, everybody. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Tax and Money Show that runs every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time, where we talk about taxes, money, crypto, and the ways that each and every one of you never have to pay tax again, and how you can get rich, not quick, but forever. Good night.